In number 24, we're supposed to find the equations of the tangent lines at the point where this curve crosses itself. That's going to occur right there, which is 2 to the right and 12.5 up. I would expect you to use a calculator to find that. Just like the example on page 708, example 3, there wasn't an algebraic way to find that. They just graphed it and said, hey, look, they cross at 0, 2. So we're just going to graph it and say, hey, look, they cross at 2, 12.5. All right, so what are the equations of the tangent lines at that point? We need to know the slope, which is dy dt over dx dt, which is this. So let's find the slope when x is 2 and y is 25 over 2. Well, we'll need to know the t values at that point. So x is 2. Let's set this expression equal to 2 and solve for t. So at pi over 2, cosine ratio is 0, and a negative pi over 2. We're also at 3 pi over 2 and 5 pi over 2. Actually, there's an infinite number of values, and that makes sense because consider that I'm only showing this as t goes from 0 to 3 pi. What if we expanded that domain of t values? Well, you'd see that there's a lot of places where the grass crosses itself. It's going to happen an infinite number of times. But let's just, well, I guess let's just grab them all. Let's see what that will look like. So for any of these rotations, pi over 2 or negative pi over 2, we could just add on any multiple of pi. Pi once, pi twice, pi 3 times, pi 4 times, or can we go negative pi again, negative pi again, negative pi again. So if we start at either of these values, we can add any multiple of pi. So these are all the angles where the graph will cross itself. But we want to know in 10.3, what are the equations of the tangent lines? So for each one of these points, for example, there's going to be one tangent line with a negative slope and another tangent line with a positive slope. And we want the equations of those lines. So let's use point slope form. I'm going to actually find them down here when theta is negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. All right, so putting in theta equals pi over 2, 2 minus pi times cosine of pi over 2, which is 0, over pi times sine of pi over 2, which is pi times 1. When we put in a negative pi over 2, 2 minus pi times cosine of negative pi over 2, that's still 0, so we just have 2 on top. And pi times sine of negative pi over 2 is pi times negative 1, which is negative pi. All right, well, we've got the slopes. To write the equations of these two tangent lines, we'll now need the point. Well, the point is x comma y. So when t is equal to positive pi over 2, the x coordinate is 2 minus, and let's just substitute it in there, and we'll get the x and y coordinate for this point, and we'll take when t is negative pi over 2 and get the x and y point there. Then we'll have the points, and then we'll have the graphs. So using point slope form, y minus 0 equals the slope times x minus 2, and y minus 0 equals the slope times x minus 2. There's the two equations of the green and yellow tangent line at that point. Would I ask you to do this without a calculator? No, I would not, and neither would the College Board.